What is up, everybody? Welcome back to MythVision Podcast. I hope you can hear me. Let me double check. Okay, if you can hear me, press 1 in the comment section. Let me know that you can hear me. I want to make sure my audio is coming through. Everything seems to be good on my end, but you never, ever know. Anyway, I am pinning. Cool. We got some ones popping in. I'm pinning the link. I'm hanging out, man. I had to reschedule an episode. Our scholar, Dr. James Tabor, wasn't feeling well today. And I just thought, let me, hang out for a little while. I won't have endless amount of time out here. It got too cold last night to be hanging out until 9 p.m. in North Carolina outside, for me at least. But I will be prepared. I got my blanket till I can tolerate it and then say, hey, I'm going to go in. I'm not going to do what I did last night. Last night, I stayed up till 9 out here and went and unthawed in the shower. Felt like I was, it was definitely seeping into my bones. So I figure I'd do a hangout show with you. If you feel like coming and joining on the panel, you're welcome to do so. I will obviously vet people. Please be respectful. I don't tolerate any bigotry, any hate whatsoever, racism, anything. I'm not tolerating it, but I want to have obvious discussions with people and throw around ideas and just have a good time. There might be a few people who get in here and debates do happen, as long as there is not being like any derogatory abuse or anything like that. I can tolerate it. I'm a big boy, and I think many of you out there are big enough to handle that and stuff like that. So I really, really do appreciate everybody coming in the chat here, popping up, dropping comments already. Mandy Moorhall, the Satire King, Handsome Cat in the house first. I think Mandy beat you, Handsome, but you tried. You did try. Reformed Catholic Noah Hyde says, Shalom, everyone. Baron, good to see you. Steves, good to see you. Axiom, Flight Risk, good to see you. Heretic, Officially Memes, good to see you here. Narcus, hey Derek, is this Schmiegel? Schmiegel? I'm trying. Mark Antony is here. Oh, snap. Mark Antony in the house. Final Curse. James, good to see you, James. Feel free to pop on, brother. I'd love to have you up here. Be cool to have you help me out also, because, it can be a lot trying to manage and make sure everything's good. Let me try and turn a little bit here. The sun is cooking. The sun is cooking, fam. The sun is cooking. James!
Hey there, how are you?
Good to have you, man. Golly, I was getting really alone. I was getting scared. I mean, did you see me shaking and trembling all by myself here, James?
Yeah, I saw you. See, your therapist called me and said, jump in there quick. He needs a lifeline. Be the wingman.
Look, I'm trying to do these streams, man. I'm doing them every day. I'm having a hoot. I'm loving life. And we're trying to make the best of it. My mother-in-law is struggling, with her health, and all of that. And I'm here with my wife, and we're trying to see the glass half full. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's the struggle right there.
That's the struggle.
I want to give a quick shout out to everybody in the chat that I know and love you. It's great to have you here with us today. So, Derek, I want to ask you a little bit about that shower. Don't get me, just to be clear on this, how is it? Can you be more specific about how you felt after that conversation?
Which conversation?
The one that left you feeling like you needed to kind of take a shower and
reset. Well, I only took the shower. Look, I felt like taking the shower because I was cold from last night. I mean, I was out here till 9 p.m. and it gets down to 35 to 40, somewhere around there in North Carolina. Yeah. It's 20 degrees warmer where I live in Florida. So
I get you. I thought that you meant that something about the conversation itself. No. All right, I got you now.
Just I needed to unthaw. I needed to I was a popsicle freezing. I have this blanket out here. Mm-hmm. And the pool's behind me and it gets cold. So eventually I'm going to do get this thing and wrap it up over me. I'll figure out when I'm cold enough. I'm sure I'll find a way to survive. Just Henry follows Hashim. Henry, to answer that question, I have a video. I think I call it like my confession or something, but it's not exhaustive. I did a live stream recently, though. James, did you see that live stream where I go through my story?
Yeah, I have. I've seen you talk about your story on multiple occasions, but yeah, I saw that one.
So I would love to just be able to like send the link. Oh, we got Seyed in the chat. Hey, Seyed, show me your video and backstage just so I know you're legit. Or is it Seyed or Seyed? 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 I just want to make sure you're real. And if you could show like visuals, that would help me. I have to vet people before they come on just to make sure that they're, legit and, all of that. So if you don't mind.
So do you feel satisfied recently with the dynamic of the conversations and debates you've been having? Or are you kind of aiming for something a little bit different than what you've been getting?
I like that it's a mix of things. I don't really care for like only bash and go hard on people. I like that there's going to be hot times, and I like that there's friendship conversations as well. Yeah. I'm not interested in only having enemies. I'm interested in having actual conversations with people too. Mm-hmm. And sometimes they're going to be, put the gloves on, and sometimes it's going to be like, you seem like a very kind human being who's not interested in trying to proselytize and give people people who've had trauma, right? You're not like trying to like shove this down their throat. And for that, I have Seyed, I would love to bring you on. I have to be very protective of the channel, and I would need to know that it's a human, that I'm not like someone's not trying to spam the stream, because then I'd have to end the stream, delete the stream, report the there's a lot of people who try to hurt people's YouTube channels, and that's why StreamYard needs to get their game together. Sorry, I'm distracted here, James, to answer this, but the reason why I'm screening callers is StreamYard does not have an option for call-ins. They should have an option where if I'm streaming, there's an option where a caller can call in and they stay audio only and their videos does not come on the stream. StreamYard does not give us that option. If I bring you on, you can pop your screen up, and if I don't know who you are and someone tries to show visuals that are not prohibited, or they're prohibited on YouTube, they can damage or harm channels that are trying to do things like this. And so I have to be very, very careful about doing it through StreamYard until I find a better streaming service or figure out a way to maneuver call-ins that doesn't demand they have visuals when they come on. So I'm just trying to be very careful about that.
Yeah, I think they understand. So, Seyed, if you can just show us the camera.
That's what I'm trying to do. Behind the stage, I'm not talking about bringing you on. I need to vet you. I can see you. No one else can. I have to vet that the people who are in backstage are real, legit people, even if they don't come on to the panel with their camera. So, that's why. So
right. So nobody in the stream will see you. Only we'll see you for just a moment.
Yeah, I just need to know that you're a legit person that has a real webcam there, and it's you're waving at me and you're like, hey, it's me, legit. If that's not possible, I understand. Maybe down the road when I get a call-in option available, you know what I mean. Like Mandy Moorhall, I know Mandy, and I know these people. I don't have to worry about it. There are people that I do, and that I don't know, and that's the only fear about YouTube. It kind of sucks that it has to be that way. But yeah, nice. I'm interested in both debate and conversation. But I feel like if it just becomes only debate, then it becomes ego, and it becomes like only gotchas. And me as a human being, me offline, me as conversations we've had as a real human being who also was in many of the predicaments that many of the believers who do call in are currently in. And I empathize. I actually don't. It's not like I changed and then I forgot my old past as if I don't have any empathy for that kind of position. I think it's only right that we do understand where people are at and try our best to go from there. But at the same time, if sometimes you get those guys that come in, I could corner you guys. Did you see that one? The guy that was from Europe that goes to Speaker's Corner, who said,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff's fun too, to me.
Yeah, sure. I agree with you 100%. So Seyed said that they can show you the camera for just a moment.
Yeah. I'm not showing. I respect people's privacy. I don't. Yeah, Seyed, if you could just show that you're real, that's the whole thing. I can't see. It's just black. Yeah, I don't see you. Oh, there you are. Okay, cool. Good to see you, Seyed. All right, awesome, man. You can close it now. Cool.
Mhm.
Yeah, I just want to respect people. I want them to respect me back. So, Seyed, welcome to the channel, man.
Thank you for welcoming me.
Yeah. You understand. I'm just trying to, maintain a healthy YouTube here.
Yeah. Okay, so to be honest, I don't have much time here. I'm just here to tell you like 2 things and then go. I'm very sorry.
No problem. Hey, thank you, the Deadly Dan, for 43 months being a member. You rock. I've seen nothing but positive growth. MythVision, we are. Thank you. Go ahead. Is it Seyed? Is that the proper way of saying your name?
Seyed.
Seyed. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm bad
No,
with
it's
names.
okay.
Go ahead.
No.
Ask away.
Okay, yeah.
say
So today I came across a person on YouTube. His YouTube channel name is Titans TV, and then KLALAMEL. And he opens up like very authentic Islamic narrations and history from like the Aksumite and Humaite churches. And he's basically talking about Muhammad, the Prophet Muhammad, was actually like the Muhammad. It's MHMD, right? The root word is just a title that's used for multiple people. Like we have people all the way in Iraq, we have people in South Arabia, people in Middle Arabia with that title. And he's basically showing us that, for example, in Islamic narration itself, there's a person. I think you're familiar with Abraha, right? The guy who came to destroy the Kaaba.
You're talking about the narration in Islam, Abraham?
No, Abraha.
Abraha.
Yeah.
I'm
just going to tell the story in short, because there's a lot of like propaganda and there's a lot of real history to it.
Okay.
For example, I think I saw a video of you with Dr. Ahmed Al-Jalad, right?
Yes.
Yeah, he was like briefly talking about this Aksumite king who came and he wanted to demolish the Kaaba. Yeah, so basically he shows us narrations from Ibn Ishaq that talks about Abraha appointing like this divine messenger called Muhammad al-Khazai. And I went and I checked that up, and it exists.
Yes. May I tell you something? This is interesting. I have an interview right now being edited with Ahmed Al-Jalad. I forget how to pronounce his name off the top of my head. Where he covers, I don't know if you've heard about the inscriptions in Southern Arabia. There's a writing that they couldn't decipher for over a century. And he has done some extraordinary work in his scholarly career and helped decipher the language of these inscriptions in South Arabia. Well, wouldn't you know, one of these inscriptions, by the way, this is 500 BCE. We're talking like 1200 years before the time of Muhammad.
BCE? That's like Iron Age.
Yeah. Well, it's 500 BCE. And he has deciphered the script, and guess what title is in some of these inscriptions?
The Muhammad root word?
Mahmed. Yeah, Mahmed. And so here's the interesting thing, right? We went down this rabbit trail, and I'm going to go with the expert on this, and who knows where this goes down the road with the consensus. But he argues that Ali is also a title. It's not just Mahmed, but Ali is a title. So the point is this. He gave a good example in the interview, and you'll see there were Christians in the Common Era after Jesus named Dionysus. They're regular humans. They might be, devoted Christians, but they had the name of a god named Dionysus as their name. But it had no it has no literal like significance religiously that they're named Dionysus. They're just,
What does Dionysus mean? I'm sorry to ask.
well, it goes back to the Bronze Age. So the ancient, I guess, Mycenaeans had the name for this deity that is devoted to wine, Dionyso. And Dionysus is where this name comes from. It's a deity of wine and fertility and renewal and life and rejuvenation. Also, mania, where, you know, people get drunk and they go into madness and stuff. So there's all sorts of stuff. But he's also, the theology runs deep. I can't even begin to scratch the surface on how much Dionysus has involved. The point is it has no religious significance to the Christian in the Common Era, who probably had parents that were pagans, or they were born into a household that still carries on the vestigial names of the pagan deity, but they don't look at it and go, okay, that Christian is secretly a title for this god, and like it's lost some of its significance. So Ahmed al-Jalad ultimately goes, Ali is also a title if you go back. Mahmed is a title when you go back. And he wonders if it's just a name by this time that still has significance. It's still a very important title, but that this doesn't prove like Muhammad mythicism or stuff like that. And so I am not sure what to do with it. I'm not an expert, but you know, listening to him, he's so fun to watch and listen. He's got me thinking, holy crap, like I didn't realize Muhammad goes way back as a title.
That's actually crazy.
That is, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like 2,500-year-old title.
It's so awesome. Stay tuned, by the way. I'm going to have an episode with him on that. And I actually asked him, like, does this tell us anything about Islam? And like, can you inform us further? So I'm excited.
What do you think personally this Muhammad means? What's the title for and stuff?
If I'm not mistaken, and I'm off the top of my head, something to do with the praised one or something. I'd have to look it up.
Yeah, because you know, something very weird, because even in Shia Islam they have the concept of the Mahdi, right?
Right.
Yeah, so something weird is in Semitic languages, if you like see the structure, which is I don't know, in like Hebrew and or Aramaic, I know in Arabic there is a mufa'al root for all Messiah figures.
Yeah.
So,
some
for
even
example,
thought that Muhammad might be Jesus. I'm not saying that's I'm not saying that's what scholars say, but like some have speculated that, you know, what's going on here. I don't know.
And there's two, by the way, there's two inscriptions in Saudi Arabia in the Marib Dam that talks about the Messiah, but it replaces Messiah with the root word Muhammad.
Interesting. So, this person said worthy of praise. Worthy of praise is what.
Oh, worthy of praise.
Interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to say that you know what happened when Muhammad firstly entered his holy land, which is Medina? The Jews were celebrating Yom Kippur or Passover, and they saw this guy coming on a white camel, and according to Islamic narration, they recognized him as being like some holy dude. And when I read that, I'm like, wait a second, is this like Jesus entering Jerusalem?
Interesting.
Yeah.
I haven't read that specifically and tried to keep that in mind, but it wouldn't shock me. I mean, I think a lot of people act like they had no knowledge of anything, or they try to like make him so isolated that he couldn't know anything. I think the trade routes do go into these areas. I think they were hearing stories, and I see nothing wrong with that. I enjoy that. What gets me is when there becomes a superiority complex. We are the best and everyone else is, and then it's like I don't know, it's like shame everyone else's position to make mine right kind of thing, when all positions, in my opinion, have problems. So, you know, we're human.
I agree with that 100%. I've even seen atheists do the same thing, right? It's always
of course.
Reformed Catholic Noahide over there in private chat is waiting. And
I'm sorry. Can I see a video of you? By the way, Seyed, is it Seyed?
Yeah.
Seyed,
yeah.
Seyed. Did you have anything else you wanted to say? I don't want to like clog up.
No, really. I don't really want to waste time because there are other people, right?
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you so much.
absolutely. Thank you for the question. And
Yeah.
it's
And
really
just before I go, because I'm also trying to like work on a YouTube channel. My new video talks about prophets who challenged Muhammad in ancient Arabia.
I'm gonna have to watch that. I like stuff like that.
And
So
Awesome.
is
I
your
I
YouTube
actually
channel under your
yeah,
name?
huh?
Is it under your name?
Yeah, I will send it in private chat.
Awesome. Please
Okay.
do.
My
Yeah.
In my video, I introduced characters which I don't think you're familiar with. There's a kid called Ibn Sayyad who goes to Muhammad in front of his face and says, "Do you witness, O Prophet of Lord, that I am a prophet of God?"
Mm-hmm.
That is weird because we have kids claiming to be prophets, and we have old people claiming to be prophets. We have kings all the way up in like the Hormuz Strait and all the way down in Mandib. I mean, there are like 6 different prophets claiming to be prophets, and according to Islamic history, there were 30 people who were claiming to be prophets after the death of Prophet Muhammad.
Interesting. Yeah, send me that in the private chat, or
Thank you so
even
much.
go comment. Go talk to people in the chat if you can. They'll go subscribe because I like historical stuff like this. Thank you for joining
Thank
me.
you so much, man. I don't want to
Thank
waste much time. That was all.
No,
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you,
thank
Seyed.
you.
God bless you all.
You have a good one. That was fun.
Mhm.
Awesome. Reformed Catholic in the house. What is up?
Hello?
Hey, welcome.
Yeah, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me, James?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine.
I
Huh.
can't hear. I can hear you, James. I can't hear Derek.
That's
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah, I'm not sure what to think of that.
I don't know what's
Can you
going
hear
on.
him?
So we can both
James?
hear. We can both hear Reformed Catholic. Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear him, and
Mm.
James can hear me.
I'm gonna log out and come back.
Okay, come back, my friend. All right.
All right. So I just.
Danny, what
Oh,
up?
hey there, Danny.
Hey guys, how are you? First of all, thanks for having us. Love you, Derek, and James. Pleasure to have you on here too, brother.
Thanks.
And you totally gotta do like a interview with Seyed sometime. Like he seemed like he had some really cool stuff to talk about, which I think could be cool to explore.
Absolutely.
I got like 5 minutes, so I'm in the middle of work. I just took a quick break. But I wanted to say, I love what you've been doing, Derek. And I think that, as we're trying to uncover the different layers of, and recreating what happened to create the New Testament literature and so forth, something that I've been really looking into is kind of just like these early political movements between like the Pharisaic groups that where some people think created the Pharisees, and like the Essenes, and the Herodians, which I think might have a major influence on how we got the Gospels, and kind of the recreation of the group of people that Jesus represents, if Jesus was a real person or not. I still think there was a group of people that he represented, and that history was kind of built on.
I will say this. I got this awesome book. We're going to it's Sunday. This Sunday, we're going to be talking about this book, the First Century Radical. By the way, thank you for the compliments. Again, I didn't want to interrupt you, but look, this book has a construction of Jesus, son of Joseph, as a radical. I can't even say the word on YouTube without demonetization. The capital T word. He was a violent. He got himself killed, according to this guy, for being violent, not for saying niceties. And he gets into the weeds in this. I love these kind of interesting hypothetical like ways of looking at Jesus and going, look. Are there clues that this guy wasn't just a nice turn the other cheek kind of guy? Like, is there some clues in the text that maybe, just maybe, Peter cutting off someone's ear with a sword, maybe go gather swords, maybe the cleansing of the temple scene was much more than just him saying, no, you guys are being unfaithful with money. Like maybe he's actually causing an insurrection. And so one comment on this, I don't know why I went with this when you just said that, but I'm thinking of like different Jesuses that scholars have constructed based on data. And this is one I just think people sleep on, because it's a really interesting one to think about, especially if you add in when Matthew rewrites Mark, because he fixes Mark. He's not a fan of what Mark does. When he does, you know that interesting Barabbas story?
Yeah.
In that story in Mark, it says Barabbas was, a murderer who was part of the insurrection. He was a lestes or a lestai, and he erases the insurrection scene when he rewrites Mark to. And this is something that a lot of scholars have noted in their commentaries on Matthew. Matthew deletes Jesus being even closely, associated with the insurrection, violent insurrectionist. And so, I don't know. There's so many paths you can go down, but this is an interesting one that we need to look at, Anyway.
I do think it's, so an interesting thing is, like, if you look at these Essenes, the Iscariot, they had, like, this whole thing about the pollution of the temple in the first place. So I think Mark kind of might even predate Pauline authorship, just in the same sense that we know that John the Baptist was killed in 38. So there's no way that Jesus was killed in 33.
That is a problem chronologically. Yeah, there's a problem with that.
Yeah.
Just for the audience who doesn't know, if you go read Josephus, I don't think it's 38. I think it's somewhere in 36. But even then, even if it was 36, supposedly 30 to 33 is the range Jesus dies in according to the Gospels. And so why does Josephus have him years later? By the way, John the Baptist in the Gospels dies, and I'm just saying Gospels plural because in all of them he dies before Jesus. How is it Josephus has him die after the time that the Gospels portray Jesus supposedly dying in? Like, the chronology seems to be off. Something's up.
Right. And even John the Baptist, right? So, like, he's the bapti, these Baptists, these daily mikvah kind of people. And that's also something that these Essenes, Ebionites, and essentially what ends up happening is you have these Essenes that get their name Hellenized later to Ebionites. And that's what happens. Like, they're the same people.
Right.
And I think, it's like you get all the picture work of, like, there was a real group of people. But it seems like they want to, in a sense, rewrite their history to include only these Pauline kind of churches, which I think might be because there was Herodian influence.
Gotcha. Yeah, I don't know about. I don't know too much about Herodian influence, and maybe that's something I need to look into more. And then, if you have some scholarship, Danny, I see you all the time in the chat, and thanks for coming on the stream. Email me anything you find. Look, I want like, if you have any academics, just because it's like science to me in a way. I know this is a much softer science, but everyone has a pet hypothesis online.
Yep.
I feel like at least the scholars have methodology, they have language, they have sources that we don't typically have. And so I'm biased in terms of, I think it's a wise move that I would go to a neuroscientist, or I'd go to someone who knows brains before I'd go to the witch doctor on trying to solve something wrong with my brain. And I just say that to say, if you just read any comment section on any video, and then you go on any video with a PhD in it, you'll notice how many commenters know way better than the PhDs. And you got to go, is there Dunning-Kruger happening here? I'm just saying, I'm not trying to be derogatory, but, like, a lot of lay people get some knowledge and then they, like, really, and anyway, I'm careful with ideas. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely people with a lot more, know-how on the subject. And it's definitely something worth looking into.
Yeah.
I saw this guy, his name was Toby. I'll send you his channel, but, like, obviously I don't agree with a lot of his suppositions about the scriptures being inerrant, but just going through the sources, like the Damascus document, and some of the other stuff, I'll send it to you. But incredible, kind of like, whoa, like, this is an angle we could explore. But with that, brother, I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank
Hope you
you.
guys have a good day.
Danny, you rock. Thanks for showing up. Email me anything you come across that might be an interesting rabbit trail. And thanks for coming on. I've got other callers hanging out. We're just going to try and take one at a time. I don't want it to end up like it did last time because it got a bit chaotic and it was a lot of people. So James, comments. Thanks for hanging out, sidekicking with me, by the way, during the stream.
No, absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity, Derek. So I did drop the link for Seyed's channel. I went ahead and went to channel and dropped that there for him. The other thing, before I forget, a lot of times it's a difficult thing for the moderators to decide which people to put on timeout and how long the timeout's going to be and who's going to have to get banned, right? So we absolutely always welcome people to share divergent views about the topics at hand, right? No matter how religious you are, no matter how outrageous I think your takes are, absolutely okay. Nobody's ever going to censor that. But there's certain lines that we try to have people not cross. And one of them is for people to come into the chat and proselytize to say, everybody accept Jesus so that you can be saved. Because even when there's not a specific statement of, or you're going to burn in hell, everybody in chat understands the context of what it means to be saved, right? The offer is that you can be spared from the violent things God's going to do to you if you don't become a proper Christian. And there's a lot of people that are frequent in our followers that have religious trauma syndrome, that they have some kind of trauma. And they don't really want to be exposed to that kind of thing because they're already trying to overcome this latent fear of hell and condemnation, or guilt and shame. And when people in chat are trying to reinforce that shame to pull people back in, well, that's, in my opinion, highly unethical, and we just cannot allow that in chat. But go ahead.
I agree. No, I agree with you. And you've done a fantastic job of trying to allow people to, voice their opinions, debate their ideas and stuff. When you're coming in and you're proselytizing, there's a veiled threat in the process of trying to get people saved. And it's saved from what and why? Damnation? And there is a lot of that. So I do agree with you. I really do appreciate you for being a mod too. You've done a great job. And this is the James who's been modding for quite some time and allowing a lot of nonsense to still go on, but nonsense that isn't, in my opinion, trying to go out of its way to hurt people. So, I just think that you should allow the freedom of these people to be able to debate and have ideas. Dude, sometimes I'll watch while I'm streaming and see someone and you don't even block them. I just do. You know what I mean? Sometimes I'm like, nah, I'm tired of that person. So anyway.
There are some people that kind of use up their good credit with us.
Yeah.
So for the moment I see Otangelo, I'm already like ready for that, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because you can't, there's no reasoning, in my opinion. Reformed Catholic, welcome back. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you good.
Awesome. Look, just be mindful. We got other people too. There's 3 other people in the back, and I just want to be mindful of time. Probably like 5 minutes or so. I'm trying to do per caller if possible. What's up? Welcome.
That's cool. I just want to say, I've been watching you for a long time. I've learned, I've grown a lot from your show.
Thank you.
And I've read some of the books you suggested, but I wanted to call in yesterday, but I didn't have the time about the conversation about why someone should be Christian and doesn't conform to reality. That I believe that Christianity has holes in it, just like Islam, just like atheism. Like there's holes in everything. But I think Jesus best explains all of reality as we see it now. That means like science and history. Does that make sense?
You believe that Jesus best explains science and history?
No, just like all of reality, all of time, space, and matter. I think when we look in the scriptures and we look at the person of Jesus Christ and where humanity has been going, where history has been leading to, that leading of history of time and space is to Jesus. Like he is Lord. He is the creator.
What would you say is the strongest evidence that makes you believe that it is the best? I'll just say the best person that conforms to reality, that the message of the gospel narrations of Jesus, or one of the gospels, either way, makes the best sense of reality in your view?
Well, it's not just like a singular gospel, but the entirety of the scriptures. And like I said, that would be like science and history. And I only have 5 minutes. I don't have the time to explain it. But it's like I'll give you. You have a lot of scholars go there, and they say that the Tanakh and the Torah was developed over time and was finalized like around Daniel's time, that time, and that Daniel was written later. And I
Well,
agree.
they argue it goes into the Common Era. Actually, most of the scholars I talk to say that even the Hebrew Bible was still changing, even down into the Common Era, while Christian literature was being written. So it wasn't a fixed canon, according to the critical scholars, based on manuscript evidence, the Dead Sea Scrolls, and of course the continue changes that happen in much of that literature. There's still a change happening, but it gets away from what you're asking, or at least what you're stating. You're stating that Jesus, in your view, I want to say mythology, but you would maybe say the theology.
No, it's a good word. Myth. I believe there's mythical language and narratives in the Bible.
Gotcha. I think that you're saying the mythos of Jesus best conforms to reality as you understand it, the suffering, the good, the bad, the ugly. And for you, that seems to make the most sense. I would just like to ask you, and I mean, clearly we can get into the weeds. We don't have time in 5 minutes to get on all this, but like, were you born into this religion? Like, is there a sense in which we could psychoanalyze a bit of like, what is behind that drives you? You know what I mean?
Right. So my background, my father, he's into Eastern philosophy, Buddhism, Taoism, Tai Chi. My mother's Roman Catholic. My grandparents, Pentecostal Methodist. I was born again when I was 15. At 16, I started worshiping Satan, and I got into the occult. At around 18, my uncle, he didn't like me being a Satanist, introduced me to the goddess, and I was a Wiccan for about 5 years. And after that, I got born again, and I was a charismatic, crazy, word of faith Christian. Now, I'm Reformed Catholic. No, that is what I am.
What have you not tried at this point? I mean, my goodness.
Yeah, but can I give one example real quick of what I think? I'll be quick. So like, I always tell people that my faith is an ancient Canaanite faith. And in the beginning, after Babel, there was all these gods and all this stuff, and Yahweh was one of many. I don't think Abraham was a monotheist as we think. I think he was a henotheist. But if you take the late writing of scriptures, it clearly says to Abraham, through his seed, all the nations will be blessed. And that all the nations, every tribe, people, language, even from Genesis to Daniel, will worship this one king. And I think that when we look at history, those gods are gone. But the name of Jesus of Nazareth has spread to every tribe, nation, and people, even if you have a late writing of the Torah, of the Tanakh. So I think, and then, like I said, it's time, space, and matter, science and history. And in 5 minutes, I can't do it. I can't do proper justice.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack in what you're saying. And obviously we disagree. I mean, but I appreciate you coming on. And Can
I ask one quick question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so, and I'm not trying to change your mind. I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to grow. I just want to understand.
Yeah.
So you say you disagree, but what I said, that even if you have a late writing of the Tanakh, it clearly says that every tribe, nation, and people are going to worship the Messiah, and that this message will go out to every tribe, nation, and people. Do you disagree with that, or do you just disagree that it's the truth?
Well, I would say this. I said early on when I started this podcast that it was going to be worldwide. I only had a few hundred subscribers. The channel has gone worldwide. I'm a prophet. You should believe in me because my channel has actually gone worldwide. And guess what? I was committed to actually making it a worldwide podcast. It doesn't validate or prove the ontology of my claim that I'm some prophet, because I actually self-fulfilled something that I've already set my mind to back here. The other thing is if someone did write in the passages in the past, when they were ruled by nations, the Jews that were ruled under a lot of these, we'll call them Gentile nations, Goyim, that they would one day, they would all come to Mount Zion and believe in the truth of the God of Israel under a Jewish context. Christianity comes along. Yes. That's literally the mission they set out to accomplish. So it's like, based on my own example, I am a prophet, or I should be then somewhat taken seriously because I said this was going to happen early on. And sure enough, the channel blew up. Islam said the same thing. And within a century, it did dominate most of the known world through conquest. And a lot of Muslims that do come on actually make that argument with many Christians and others to say, look at how fast the growth of Islam did take over the world. So like there are a lot of criticisms we could bring up, but we are out of time, Reformed. And maybe in the future, you and I can actually get into some of these things in the weeds and just discuss our differences. We don't have to be combative, but I think it's important to understand why we think differently.
That's good. That you make a good argument. I have rebuttal for that, but I'm going to respect your time and the time of the rest of the callers. And I just want to thank you for your time.
Thank you. Look, I plan on doing these more often anyways. So I thank you for being polite and hanging out, even if we aren't on the same page about it. Thanks.
All right, peace.
Yeah,
have a good one.
Right. I think it's important to also notice all the different religions and sects that also predicted that they would endure and spread and didn't. Right? If you play the lottery often enough, somebody's gonna win, and so it's just a mathematical fact that we're going to have religions that endure over time.
True. Victor Engelman, how did I leave you hanging? Anybody who super chats, you keep the lights on here. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much, Victor. And by the way, for those who don't know, who Victor is, we did a live stream on hell, the origins of hell, going back to volcanoes. Some scientists actually wrote a book about this, why the devil smells of sulfur, and the idea of hell coming from the natural phenomenon we call volcanoes. I find that fascinating. Just in between callers, I think it'll be important that we make sure we're mindful of any super chats. I never mean to leave anyone hanging on super chats. And so thank you, Victor, for the super chat. We're going to take our next caller. James, are you hanging out with me for a little while?
Yes, for as long as you need me here, I'll be here.
Awesome.
If we get pretty busy with lots of people, then I'll bow out. But
No. I'm doing one at a time because it got a little chaotic last time.
Yeah.
And I want to, like, people talking over, and it gets a little too disruptive, and I prefer to have a little more control. Plus, if something did get out of hand, I'd rather make sure that, it's easily manageable.
Mhm.
So yeah, and I appreciate you being my wingman here. Roku in the house. Good to finally meet you. Roku. I don't have any audio coming from you.
We saw your image, but we don't hear you.
I can't hear Roku.
So check your settings with the three little dots.
My mic is having trouble, Roku said. Even David is saying can't hear you. They're working on it right now. Okay, let's try it again. Did it work now? Nothing.
So there's three little dots on the upper right-hand corner. You can click on those and go to settings and see if you can manually select the microphone that you want to use. Sometimes it doesn't grab it properly.
Interesting. I'll give Roku a minute. They've been in the chat for a long time. You and I both know these names, a lot of them, and I really don't want to leave anybody hanging here.
Right. So in the meantime, B.S. Lewis, if you're still with us, we'd love to have you up here at some point too.
Oh, were they in here?
They were.
Oh, okay.
Well, they weren't backstage. They were in the viewer section.
Oh, gotcha. Okay,
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. I can't hear Roku. If everybody in the chat would press 1, if you can't hear Roku, please press 1 just to see.
Also, Robyn, if you're still here with us, we would love to have you.
Hold on. Here we are. Roku's disappeared and came back. Roku, what's up? Roku, can you hear us? Okay. I see some. Okay, lots of ones said they cannot. So I guess that's why Roku's bouncing out. All right, Roku, I want to pop you in. All right. Can you hear us? Oh, they keep popping out. Maybe it's this one. Okay, we're going to have to move to the next person. I don't want to leave everybody hanging here. Alex, what's up, Alex?
Hey, can you hear me all right?
Yes, you're coming through.
So I just want to say I love your show so much. I've been watching you, and
you.
I actually came to you from Gnostic Informant. And I recently had this weird experience where I hired an assistant in Bangladesh, and he did all this great work, so I gave him this bonus. And he came back to me recently. He was like, Alex, I built a house. It's kind of like a shanty house, but for him, it's a big deal. And I really want to do some more work for you. And I was trying to figure out like, what can I do with this guy? And I was really inspired by Gnostic talking about Timaeus recently. And so I was like, what if we take some of the English translations of Plato and have this guy run them through an LM and rewrite them so they're even more just boring English like we speak? And it's actually turning out pretty well. It's and you know, and like I feel like a lot of these works, like even when they're translated into plain speak, no one actually talks that way. And like you know, like wouldn't it be nice? And so the LMs made that happen. So I was gonna hopefully share that and get some feedback. I'm not trying to make any money off of it. I just like taking old texts and making more accessible. But
just so we're on the same page, I've not been the big philosophy guy for the longest in terms of like deep, but someone nudged me and said, Derek, you really need to go and read a little bit of Plato. Go read Euthyphro, go read Crito, go read Mino, go read the Apology. And I did on the way here to my mother-in-law's, and on the way home, there's an audiobook that I'm listening to that has like,
cool.
96 hours. And I do feel the frustration of like, keeping up with some of the dialogue. It's like, okay, hold on. What are they trying to say? That English is a little bit dense, but please continue.
Well, you know, like, so I am the only, I would describe like religious-y person in my family. Like all of my, no one else has any religion. I found it quite late in my life. And I'm more of like a post-theist than like religious-y person. But I have a kid who's like under 2 years old. And my wife's like, when are you going to expose her to religion? And I'm like, I don't feel comfortable exposing someone to Judaism without them being familiar with Hellenism and the Babylonian context, because it's a completely different story if you have the context that's going on in that time than if you were to just read it now, which leads to what I wanted to talk to, which is, and you guys might not even disagree with this, but I'll try to be somewhat controversial. I have this notion. You guys have seen like rap battles? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's kind of my conception of Judaism. It's like this crossroads country where there are all these people coming through. And so they're like, oh, that's not old. I'll give you something that's old. Or that's not how it happened. This is how it happened. And they literally rhyme with the stories they're relating to. I don't know. Sorry if you hear a screaming baby.
It's fine.
But And so I'm curious what you think about this take of religion as just a political rap battle. So it being more defined, not by what it's saying, but what it's opposing, if that makes sense. So
go ahead.
Yeah, go for it. Oh, no,
my only objection to that statement is the word just, as in that it's only that. I would grant that.
That's a good point.
It's one dimension of it. Sure, I would grant that.
I agree with that, Alex. I think that there is what you're talking about there, no doubt. And in fact, I really, really think it's fun to watch the debate unravel, not only between rabbis, but look at the dialogues, look at Plato and the philosophers.
Right.
What are they doing if they're not kind of battling out ideas and even leaving you with cliffhangers every time you get to the end? It's like, yeah, we'll have to pick this up later, because it's like, but what's the answer? It's like, that's not the point. The point is to keep going and going and going. And I think that's also the fun of it, because we need something to distract us with a crazy world we live in. So that's just one dimension. I agree with James.
Maybe a better way to say it is, maybe that's the limit of religion, right? Like I was listening to Richard Carrier, maybe on yours, I can't remember. And he was talking about this notion of like religion versus science and kind of pre-religious magic, right? Mm-hmm. And he talks about like religion hits these limits because of, you know, the dogmatism that I'm sure we've kind of all experienced. But what's kind of interesting though, is that context in a postmodern world kind of shifts, right? Like, especially now, like, I can tell you amongst everyone I know, every single one of my peers, religion is less than 1% of people. Like every single one of the people you work with, I've started 2 multi-billion-dollar Silicon Valley companies. I went to an advanced science school. There is no Western religion outside of maybe like Gnosticism or Satanism or something like that, really practiced by any of those people. So I kind of wonder if this kind of YouTube LLM, post-YouTube, post-LLM, post-theist religious practices are limited in the same way. And so I think that, that's kind of like the one thing that I think we have to start thinking about is that the way that religion exists in our world, because it is not supported by the powers and the status quo, kind of puts a lot of the conceptions or limitations that we would see in religion, I would say, on its hind feet, right? Like there's no, I mean, obviously, in some countries there's religious countries, right? But like in America, there's no one enforcing Christianity on us,
Well,
right?
hopefully.
I mean, I kind of agree and kind of disagree. It depends on how we're defining Christianity. There are certain sects or factions that don't currently have an alignment with the existing power structure, but there are other versions like nationalists that do, and so it just depends on what we mean.
And by the way, Alex,
totally, yeah.
just being mindful. We got 1, 2, 3, 4,
Oh, yes,
5
let me go.
people. So if you want to just say one more thing, if you don't mind, just because I want to be mindful of the guests that are waiting.
I think that's it. Those are the 2 points. I'm gonna just tweet out once again. You guys can see responses to Gnostic Informant, Google Drive link of Plato as I'm going along, and we're gonna have hopefully people can comment to say like, this makes sense. This spoke to me. I understood that. Because it's just for fun, and I really appreciate you guys letting me talk.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alex.
But,
all right.
Hey, since you've got 4 or 5 people waiting,
sure.
I'm gonna step away for about 10 or 15 minutes, and then I'll jump back in.
Yeah, I'm just bringing on one person at a time. I wanted to get Roku back on because Roku was trying, and they've got it worked out. It looks like so. After Roku, we'll continue. But I hope you do join me back, James. I really do. Okay, cool. Let's get Roku here. Where you at? Here you are. Roku, what is up?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, just one thing real quick. I wanted you to interview this scholar. Can you read his name?
Reinhard. Okay.
Okay, like he's a colleague of Gad Barnea and Jonathan Adler.
Nice.
And of course, this book is in German. It hasn't been translated in English. I read it like half a year ago, and it really goes well with their research. He's just arguing that there was this religious group that supported the Maccabeans. And they were the ones who maybe have pushed this, let's call it Torah-centered Judaism. And he also goes back into he analyzes the book of Daniel. And there's this, this critique or the polemic that, what was it? It's been like 7-8 months since I read it.
It's fine.
But, the critique that the king would, defund the temple, and so that they stopped worshipping at all. And that this polemic, it was also used earlier by non-Jews, like I hate using this word pagans, to make kings look bad, but it actually doesn't make any sense because the king, like the rulers, in this case it's the Ptolemaic rulers in Egypt, would never do that because they get money from it.
Right.
And so it's just one of these many polemics, and then he, connects it with the Maccabean revolts, and it just goes so well with what Jonathan Adler and Gad Barnea wrote. So it would be really nice if you could interview him. Of course, he also speaks in English.
Okay, good. That's helpful. That's helpful.
Yeah. And I think maybe through Gad or Jonathan, you can somehow contact him.
Yeah. I'm sure that I could. And we live in a day and age now where they have AI models that can dub. It doesn't matter what language, as long as they're pronouncing it clearly into AI, it'll dub it into the language that you want people to hear it in, and it can do it in his accent. So, it's smart, man. It's getting smart, and I'm looking forward to more of that because there are some interviews I want to do with people who are not like they can't even speak English at all. And if they tried, they might know a word or two, but you can't get that scholarship because the barrier. And there's some really, really good scholarship that is not just in the English speaking world. And I think that's a very important boundary we should try to overcome so more people can hear the various takes, you know? But yeah, if you have my email by any chance, is there a way you can help me by like,
Yeah, I can.
I'm at my mother-in-law's, as you can see, I'm in a backyard right now. Like if you could remind me through email, that way there's a kind of a paper trail, then I can contact Gad and say, hey, Gad or Jonathan, do you know this colleague of yours? Can you get me in touch with them and then work on something from there?
What I can also do is message you on Discord in your server. I'll just add you, send you the picture of the book.
Got it.
That works for you. Yeah, definitely. And besides that, I'm really thankful because, I started theology. I finished my master's degrees last year. And, watching your interviews and, of course, also the interviews that Neil does, really keeps me, like studying, even though I'm already done. And I'm thankful for that, even though I lost my interest in Christianity like a long time ago already. But the philosophical aspect and the theological aspect is it's still something that interests me.
Just so I understand your background, you have a master's degree. What are you studying?
I studied theology.
Theology. Okay.
Yeah.
And you got your master's in that. Are you planning to go the full PhD?
No, I'm still living at my parents' home, and I'll turn 30 in 11 days, and I really want to just move out. I want to, I'm working right now at the airport where I'm at, and want to earn money, and then just become live on my own and grow up.
Congratulations. 30 years is tough to make. Jesus barely made it. You know what I mean? So, kidding. Look, write me on Discord. You're in the Discord that I have. And also, if worst case scenario, you can private message me there or email. Either way, I'll try to get to it as soon as I can.
And shout out to the earlier guest. Here's a statue of Plato.
Gotta have Plato, man. Gotta have. Yeah, thank you, Roku. Appreciate you fixing the camera and coming on.
Yeah, no worries. Take care. Right. Bye-bye.
Have a good one. You too.
Ciao.
Bye. All right. I am going to check the chat real quick before we bring our next caller. I don't want to leave anyone hanging if they had a super chat or something like that they wanted to throw up. Okay. David A's next, and Curtis, just so you know, this is the order. And then there is Janata Deist, just so you have an idea in your mind so you're not lost, like how many people are in front of me. David A, welcome to MythVision.
Hello, Derek.
Hey.
It's nice speaking with you. I've been watching your channel for a long time.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah. All right, so I hope I'm loud and clear because I was just kicked out of IP stream, so Inspiring Philosophy.
Oh,
I know you know him.
Yes.
Yeah, no, you didn't really kick me out. It's my fault. I think they mentioned that they couldn't hear me well, so I'm going to try to speak very clear and very, very slow. So I hope I'm very clear.
Okay, I can hear you. Some of the words you're saying, I may not completely get, but I think I get the gist. I'm trying to get the gist of what you're saying. But yeah, what? So you went on Inspiring Philosophy stream. I got that. You said you were kicked from Inspiring Philosophy stream.
Well, no, it's not. It's not that serious. But yes, they complained that they couldn't hear me very well.
Okay.
But yeah, so but we're having a discussion. It was good. It is not. I'm not trying to be any. Yeah, it was actually good. But I just wanted to have a bit of thinking, because the topic there was about the resurrection and stuff like that. So I just wanted to, pick your brain on some things, some ideas around it.
Ask away.
Because
I got a few minutes before we move to the next guest.
Yeah. So I think that generally we are asking the wrong questions when it comes to resurrection.
Okay.
Because I know that I'm sure you agree with me to some extent. I think that the Gospels are not reliable information because by the time we have the Gospels, a lot of things have changed from what the likes of Paul or Cephas believed earlier. I think that they're starting to mythologize. They're starting to create stories about Jesus that was not necessarily the case in the beginning. So one way to show that, and that's what I want to discuss with you, is that if you notice carefully, because one of the things I do when I'm trying to study these things is that I don't start with the gospel. I start with Paul's letters, right? So you start with Paul's letters, you start with First Corinthians, in fact, you start with First Thessalonians, you try to put it in a chronological order before you get to the Gospels. But I also put First Peter, I also put First John, because I don't think those two letters are influenced by the Gospels, say compared to like Second Peter. And what I notice is that when you look at Paul's, like in First Corinthians 15, when he was discussing the nature of the resurrected body, it never appealed to the gospel stories. Like none of the, because you'd imagine is trying to explain the resurrected body, right? I remember he says, no, Jesus is the first fruits, but it never appeals to it. It never says, oh, you know that story that Cephas or Peter told us, or that John told us about.
David, if you could slow down just a little bit,
yeah,
it's hard for me to understand what you're saying.
Yeah, okay. So what I'm saying is that when Paul is making his case for what that resurrection body would look like, it never appeals to the gospel, right?
So
he never says.
Let me pick that apart real quick so I understand what you're saying. You're saying the way that Paul in 1 Corinthians 15 describes the resurrected body is very different, what you're saying, from the Gospels.
Not yes, it's very different one, but I think what is surprising is that he never even appeals to it. Like I think he has no idea that those stories exist.
Yeah.
Do you understand? Exactly.
Saying Paul doesn't even have those stories. Got it.
Exactly. It doesn't even appeal to those stories. Yeah. So, but what is even worse is that we have a particular passage in First John chapter 3, First John chapter 3, verse 2. Now, this epistle supposedly is written by John, the beloved. But in that, I don't know if you have it Bible closely, but if you open it, you see that it says that what Jesus looks like or what he will be. So it's basically talking about his second coming or his resurrected body, that it has not been revealed. That is, we don't know what it looks like. That we will see it when it comes in, because it's talking about the second coming. So this is supposedly the same John that, in the gospel, they had Thomas. Jesus invited Thomas to touch the wound and all of that, and they were with, according to Acts, they were with Jesus for 40 days. But yet, this is the same guy that's writing, and he's saying we don't know what he looks like. We have no idea because it has not been revealed. Although he did say that we will look like him when he comes, because it's obviously looking ahead to the transformation and the resurrection. So it's going to change to that body. But at the point where he's writing this epistle, he has no idea what it looks like. Okay. And I think that is very, very interesting.
So the fact that you're saying we don't know what it looks like, the pneumatic body, because we don't know what that looks like, that is contrary to what we find in the Gospels as we see
100%
the narratives.
Yeah.
Okay. And did you try to say this on Inspiring Philosophy?
I couldn't get there. I didn't get to that point.
I almost couldn't get there. I'm not gonna lie, David. You got an accent that's harder.
It's hard to slow. Yeah.
But there is a scholar. Look, I really would have to go dig back into 1st, 2nd, and 3rd John, but Hugo Mendez has a lot of interesting work right now going on with 1st, 2nd, and 3rd John and the Gospel of John that I'm really into, cutting edge stuff. But yeah, it is interesting that the appearance doesn't get described. What is this supposed to look like? I believe I've got an episode coming up that I think you'll find very interesting with James Tabor. He watched my parts of my stream yesterday when we went into what kind of body, what was this resurrected Jesus supposed to be understood as? And I don't want to straw man his view, but I believe he would argue that it was supposed to be luminary, like the stars. The stars are luminescent. They're bright light. So
Yeah,
that's kind of contrary, if you ask me, from the gospel.
exactly.
And
Yes.
there's different conflicting views, and I find that fun personally,
Mhm.
because I don't have to defend a theology, you know. Nope, this book says that. That's, you know, I like to try to see if they have connections, but I also don't mind if they don't. I don't mind. It doesn't bother me. But David, I have more callers, man. I don't.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. Yeah.
We will do this again. We will do this again. And email me, by the way, if you have any insights or something. Email me, and I'll be happy to read what you send.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, I don't have your email, but maybe you can send it somewhere.
I'll put it in the private chat right now.
Yeah. Okay.
I usually have it in my descriptions, but it is mythvisionpodcast@gmail.com and I'm not going to type this out, Derek@mythvisionpodcast.com. So, but I put it in the private chat for you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, David. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye. All right. Am I leaving anybody hanging here? Just making sure nobody's left hanging. Okay. I like to double check before I bring another guest on. If anyone super chats or anything like that, don't want to leave them hanging. And Curtis, what's up?
Holy shit. Hey, I'm on. I'll call you back.
Welcome.
Hello.
Hey, how are you?
Good.
Good. Welcome, man. You have anything you want to ask, or where are you at? Are you in a tent?
Yeah.
Well, I'm outside too.
I live in a tent right now. Isn't this crazy? Like, there's one
wow.
Tent. And it's like, let's get this stuff off here. I got like,
that you could stand up in your tent.
Yeah.
Oh, you got a maid in the shade in that tent.
I just get like a little bit of a leak sometimes, or like my shoes kind of tracking some water, and I don't really like the ground is like pretty dirty.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know, maybe I'll get like a little mat and I'll put it like right here, or I'll put a blanket right here, and then I'll have like one little space where I can put my feet, naked on the floor.
Curtis, you're hanging out, man. We got like a few minutes here. What do you want to say, man? It's good to have you here.
Have you ever heard of Cascadia?
Cascadia. I don't think I have.
Dude, it's just become my like everything, man.
Should I Google it? Cascadia. How do you spell it?
Look up Cascadia Independence Movement or Cascadia Bioregion.
Independence.
It's like it's not just a place, it's a state of mind.
Ah,
it's
okay.
Two things. There's a culture that we formed living in Cascadia, and then there's Cascadia itself.
So let me read this real quick for the viewers. The Cascadia movement is a collection of various heterogeneous movements seeking greater autonomy for the Pacific Northwest through a political coalition of the U.S. states of Oregon and Washington and the Canadian province of British Columbia. The movement is an independence movement seeking to establish a Cascadian federation, an economic movement for the creation of a single market, bioregionalist movement for the Cascadian bioregion, and a nationalist or cultural movement for the creation of Cascadian. And there's a map. So this is your map right here.
Yeah, and then dude, like right when fucking COVID shit came out, I was like so CPTSD'd. My ADHD was just like maxed out, and I was like looking at it like no one's calling me on Craigslist for my contracting services. I'm like, I'm done. Like, I don't even know what I'm gonna eat for dinner tonight with my dad, and like I went to ICE for 11 days. Like, I went to the border and I declared independence, and I was like, I'm laying a counterclaim to Cascadia.
Are you doing okay though? Are you doing okay?
This was 6 years ago.
Oh wow! So you've been like surviving, like literally.
Like, I started my like major recovery in the beginning of 2025.
Wow!
That's when I started my major recovery. But it was like CPTSD, and they kept diagnosing me as like. They started off like when I came back from the border, and like literally I got broken out by like ICE like supervisors, Like, it's
Wow.
actually incredibly illegal what they did. That's what they told me. That 2 things. There was they let me call my mom. There's no phone in ICE, man.
Oh.
Yeah, and they let me call my mom off my phone on their cell phone in the middle of the jailhouse. And they're like, they scanned, looked to see if anyone's watching, and passed it to me, like, right on camera. And, like, I called my mom. I told her, like, hey, this is where I hid my IDs, you know, like, in the back of, like, a laundry machine, like, in the house in case I get raided or something. Like, a mutual area shared between the landlord and us. Yeah, and like that's how like fucking tweaked I was on this. I was like, if I get raided after, like, I don't know. So yeah, she brought me my IDs to the border, and she had to do it exactly by 8 a.m. or the Canadians would not let me back in.
Damn. Well, look, Curtis, I have a limited amount of time here. And
but I started a site called kingdomofcascadia.com. It's still being built right now.
Okay.
I just got my Facebook suspended. I'd say go to my Facebook, but like I can't. I'd say go to kingdom.cascadia at Instagram, or
do you have
Kurt.theking.
Do you happen to have any specific thing you wanted to bring up about religion or MythVision or anything like that?
Yeah, I started my own cult.
Okay.
And, like, just me and a few friends practice it, and it's like a drug cult. We use like ketamine and DMT.
Oh
and
my God.
We have like psychedelics like acid, mushrooms.
That's wild, dude.
I'm my own pharmacist.
That's wild.
Yeah,
I don't look. I'm not promoting that, man. I look for people who might want to do that, but like I can't.
But I have like native
I have 11
shamans
years.
that I work
I have,
with too.
I have
do the
11
DMT and
years.
peyote.
11 years off heroin here, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? I now psychedelics.
Yeah, I want to get people off heroin and onto like weed and ketamine.
Right. Now I
and
could
then
see
eventually
that,
onto nothing.
I could see that for people who have PTSD or need real medical treatment.
Depression, bro.
I would absolutely ask them to go through a medical professional though, just because I really.
But there aren't enough around, and they cost money.
That's true.
Especially like if the people that are, especially if over here, like if you're diagnosed with an addiction, then you do not qualify for ketamine therapy or ecstasy therapy or LSD therapy. I don't even think the other two are there. Like I think just ketamine therapy is available where I am right now.
Damn.
So I kind of just
sorry to hear that, man.
Yeah. Like,
well,
I've seen some pretty cool shit. So
I got more callers. I need to get the next callers. I've got a few more. In
the background. One.
Listen, join the Discord. I got the Discord. Feel free to go in there and chat
anytime. Post it in the chat. Can you post the link in the chat?
I don't have the link. It's MythVision on Discord, so you should be able to easily search it. I'll have to try to find a way to get it while I'm on here real quick and see if I can
send you to mine and then you send me yours.
Yes, put it in the chat. Put it in the private chat.
Okay, all right. And then go to the main general chat and then message your link there.
I will. I'll have to get it off my phone.
Okay.
All right, brother. Thank you, Curtis. Right. Stay safe out there, bro.
Peace soup.
Peace. All right. I real quick want to stop here and say I do not endorse anything that isn't medically done by a professional. Trust me, been there, done it, tried all sorts of stuff. Bakken, did I leave you hanging with a super chat? Please forgive me for the super chat. Bakken, thank you for the super chat. The reason I argue Mark comes before the letters of Paul is that it lacks resurrection. Paul's theology and letters used themes in Mark. So, most of the scholars I know do the backwards. They think that Mark's using Paul's letters. I don't know. I'm not sure what the answer is here. I do think no matter what you do, you can't get away from Paul and Mark having some serious overlap, that one seems to be dependent upon the other. James, what's up? Welcome back, James.
Thanks.
Hey, and I mean, no offense, Curtis, on telling people to go seek medical professional help and not doing that kind of stuff on their own. Been down the dark path myself, and I think that I went through this whole like hardcore abstinence position at one point too. And then I'm like, okay, hold on. Not everyone needs to go down the abstinence route either, because then they're going to feel like they have shame when they really do need medical assistance in this world. And so, interesting callers, just different people who are different walks of life, have different concerns and different things they bring up. I try to keep it, relevant to MythVision religion stuff, but, I definitely, hope that people who are struggling out there do try to get the help they need. If they need the help, go seek a medical professional. I want to just make one comment on that too before I move forward, because in America, I have tried for the last 10 years. A lot of people have reached out to get off drugs. I'm talking hard drugs. I'm not talking about stuff that may actually be not killing them and harming their lives. And dude, we're in a really, really screwed up situation. This is the last thing I'll say on it before we move to our next caller is there's a huge scam with the insurance that we have in America. Just getting people treatment, getting people help. It is so difficult. Mental health, medical attention, you name it. Whereas most countries just have universal. And I've tried, and I've seen many people die in the past 10 years, just not being able to get off fentanyl, meth, the whole nine, the combination. And it sucks, man. Sucks. Many of my friends, my best friends, overdosed. They caught them 40 minutes, no oxygen to the brain, passed away, all because we're in this really goofed up situation that we shouldn't be in to begin with. So yeah.
Right.
Anyway,
take care of yourselves and each other, and see a medical professional if you need help.
Yeah, for sure. Bakken, this is a topic I'm actually working on a documentary right now. I'm going the other way, the consensus way that Mark is using Paul, and I'm hoping that elucidates some. But either way, if you don't agree with the chronology, you'll see some evidence that connects Paul and Mark in I think, a very convincing way. The reason I go that direction is I have a way of explaining Mark that I think is an anti-Jerusalem text. I'm taking a pretty radical stance. I'll probably publish on this at some point, that Mark's ending was meant to end that way. And they told no one. The 12 didn't get the message. And part of me is going down that path because the Gospel of Mark endlessly says they don't get it. And so it's a hypothetical, but I do wonder if at the end of it, the whole point is they don't get it. But there is one who does, the Apostle Paul. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Anyway, we'll see how that one pans out. Maybe I can get some people's thoughts about that when I do publish it. The next we have up is Janata. I'm probably butchering these names. Forgive me. And then we have Dark Light Delirium, and we have some other guests also after that. So welcome to MythVision. You're muted. Hey, welcome. Hey.
What's up, guys? I'm here talking from Brazil. And
wow. How's the weather?
Oh, it's winter. Yeah.
It's cold?
Yeah, it's a little bit cold.
Interesting.
And I would be grateful for MythVision podcast and MythVision videos because I opened my eyes as a kind of former apologist to realize that actually the New Testament is not about history. It's about theology, and it's an attempt to try to fulfill the Old Testament itself, and it do not make sense anyway trying to defend historicity in New Testament text. And surely MythVision content was very important for those conclusions. But I'm really curious, and I would ask you, Derek, about two subjects that I would like to know your opinion.
Ask away.
Well, the first one, it's why you never trying to contact a Christian apologist that for me is actually the only one that really takes seriously mythicist texts, that is J.P. Holding, James Patrick Holding. He's a guy that is really read about his work. I guess his work has he works in a library of a university or a seminary, but he really is a guy that really thousands of books and wrote extensively about mythicism
Yeah.
and so
yeah.
on.
I know tectonics.org, right?
Right. And you know, there's no other Christian apologist that really would not be. I guess he's the most specialist in mythicism from those guys. So I would be really, exciting if he would appear in MythVision sometime to discuss mythicism and mythicist points. And the second subject, I would be curious about your opinion on the Tacitus quotation that how you take you just think that it's more probable to be an interpolation, or it might be just irrelevant because the content is not based on research and eyewitness so on. So that is my curiosity.
I would need the Tacitus specific quote. From what I understand, there is a debate. I know that Richard Carrier, in his latest book that he wrote, is actually combating some of the scholarship on Tacitus. They think it's authentic. They don't think it's interpolated. They do think that Tacitus may know of Christian tradition. Is this the one that talks about, and correct me if I'm wrong here, James, maybe you know off the top of your head, is Tacitus the one that actually talks about Crestus?
I sure think so.
Let me work up. Get me.
Well, I guess this in these words is Suetonius, but Tacitus mentioned it's more like it's futurated by old Christian tradition from the late first century of the Gospels, I guess.
Yeah. So let me see. So you have the Annals 1544, which is written in 116 CE. Christus, from the name had its origin, suffered the extreme penalty during the reign of Tiberius at the hands of one of our procurators, Pontius Pilate, and a most mischievous superstition, thus checked for the moment, again broke out not only in Judea, the first source of the evil, but even in Rome, where all things hideous and shameful from every part of the world find their center. Most of the scholars, I understand, do not take this as an interpolation, and there's many paths that you could go down. If it just depends on who you're trying to read, but if you're going with the consensus, this is just pointing out that Romans were not fans of Christians, especially not Roman historians. They were thinking this is like a superstition, a poisonous, toxic superstition that's spreading, and clearly are not fans of it. So I don't know what question you have specifically about it, other than the fact that it seems like at this time, by this time, they know about Christians and they're not fans. They don't like them. They're not fans of their ideology.
So we can conclude that it's just irrelevant it doesn't matter for historicity. It's just quoting Christian tradition of the late 2nd century. No?
Well, technically you could use it as evidence to help support, if you want to look at this and say, hey, here we have a historian who is at least saying that a man named Christus was put to death under Pontius Pilate. Where is, Tacitus getting this material specifically from? Who knows? I don't necessarily think it needs to have come from, some kind of Pontius Pilate's, written annals or something that's in the Actus or something. That's why I think the consensus thinks that that he's aware of Christian tradition. He knows of it, and it can support the notion that they believe there was a Jesus who was put to death under Pontius Pilate. So one can use it as evidence. I just don't think I don't think it proves, right? He's hearing about this man who was put to death under Pontius Pilate. Well, we know that Christian tradition is also saying that. So maybe they're believing what they're being told by Christians in the tradition. I would just need better evidence by a scholar to say Tacitus got this information from a completely independent source apart from Christians. And then that would even help the case, I think, even stronger to say, look, there's several independent sources that seem to indicate there was a guy who was put to death on the Pontius Pilate. That's my take on it.
I'm not sure how much it helps, though. Just say, well, one more person heard a rumor and told us about it. Like,
could, yeah.
Yeah.
Again, I mean, I James, I think there was a guy. I think there was a Jesus, but at the end of the day, like, it's, you could make an argument, and Richard Carrier has made this argument, that it doesn't prove the historicity. It's not a strong piece of evidence to go, yep, the guy existed. That's his argument, because it's later and it seems to be dependent upon the tradition of Christians telling the story. But is it, how do I pronounce your name? Janata? Yanata?
You can pronounce like the brother of the friend of David, Jonathan.
Jonathan. Okay. If you give me one more, just because we have people waiting and I don't want to leave them hanging, please.
Thank you for the attention.
Absolutely. Did you have any other questions real quick before I let you go?
You didn't answer me about JP Holding, but
that's right.
I would still talking about Tacitus' point, saying that I don't personally even believe that we can know nothing about Jesus, right? His name itself is not even historical itself, because it's very suspicious for me to wrote about a savior that his name means savior. So, and the New Testament and Old Testament, it seems full of astrology and mythology. So even Paul's letters, I think, don't have history at all about a Jesus, a flesh and blood guy behind the early Christianity. But I guess that J.P. Holding said that Tacitus would never, it's like an authoritative argument, would never mention Jesus in his books if he was not sure. And if he did that, he did a research, he was sure that what the Christians were saying were true or happened. Does that make sense?
Good comment though. I've read him, by the way. I'm glad you brought this back to JP. Is it JP Holding? Yeah, JP Holding. Tectonics.org. I've read some of his criticisms in the past. I've come across his website. Never met the guy. He's never tried contacting me. I've never seen him on YouTube actually engaging. At least since I've been doing MythVision, he's never made any engagement with me. At least I've engaged with some of the more popular online apologists. He may be more qualified. I've read some of his stuff, and a lot of the apologists today do go to his websites to learn things from him. But even we're getting off topic a little, but I've done a little bit of an engagement with Inspiring Philosophy. He's an apologist online about Dionysus turning water into wine. If you go to JP Holdings' website, tectonics.org, you'll see his criticisms of the idea that Dionysus turned water into wine, and he'll say, no source, there's no evidence, he never changes water into wine and all of that. Well, that was quoted during that debate that I was having back and forth with Inspiring Philosophy. He was using JP Holdings' work in critiquing. Now, me and Inspiring Philosophy are friends again. We're cool. We did bump heads, but we're cool. And it's like, all right, we get along. But I went and read JP Holdings, and I saw it's apologetics. Like you said, he's smart in the way he writes, very smart. But I'm telling you, he's pulling a bunch of apologetics. I guarantee you, and I could probably call Richard Carrier tomorrow. I wouldn't do it today. It's too late. I could say, hey, Richard, what do you think about the idea that, or I could call, actually better yet, I could call an actual classicist who knows, say Steve Mason, who actually studies this in Roman Latin, knows the language, knows his shit. And he said, and say, hey, would Tacitus ever write something down without knowing for sure that source maybe, was rumors or maybe from some tradition? Is there any evidence in Tacitus's works anywhere that he's writing down what other people are saying about something that he can't fact check to know for sure, I can guarantee you Tacitus has material in it that isn't proven. It isn't for sure a fact. And it sounds like apologetics 101. They're just trying to make it seem so confident, so certain. And I'm like, bro, why are you doing this? Like just why? I don't understand. Historians don't do this. Scholars aren't doing this. Not ones that I think, are really serious. It doesn't hurt. If you want to believe that Jesus rose from the dead, go ahead. But Tacitus, you have to work overtime to try and force Tacitus to be like this. I find that wrong. What do you think, James? You think that's over the top?
Oh, it's way over the top. If Tacitus really would have thought that stuff really happened, he would have been a Christian. And so would I, right? Some guy comes back from the death, and I'm convinced it happened. Sign me up, right? And he remains completely skeptical of the whole project, so nah.
Yeah, and again, if you just read the passage, it's funny how apologists like J.P. Holden would quote this as if this is proof and helps his case. I find this all the time. This is the final thing, and I want to get to our next caller, is this. I find so often Christian apologists that quote scholars that only agree with them on one thing, and everything else they oppose them on. They disagree. So when you read Tacitus, how nice does this sound for Christianity? Just so we read it. Christus, from whom the name had its origin, suffered the extreme penalty during the reign of Tiberius at the hands of one of our procurators, Pontius Pilate, and a most mischievous superstition, thus checked for the moment, again broke out. He is not a fan.
Right.
He hates the Christian. Like, if this guy knew something and it was like so close to this is reality, all they want to do is get one point, and they want to say Jesus existed. Therefore, you can somehow argue against mythicism. Like, I just don't buy it. And by the way, I don't know what source Tacitus has. He might be working off tradition. He might be getting hearsay from Christians, just like Josephus is aware of material that even Richard Carrier, in his critical analysis on this, suggests that they know about Christian tradition. He's going to the Greeks and the Jews. Well, that's a weird thing for him to say in Josephus, because when you go back to the Gospels in Matthew, Jesus isn't actually proselytizing to the Gentiles, but
Right.
in Mark, he's doing both. Well, which gospel is it? Because Matthew, I came only for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. So there's a lot of problems, and it sounds like Christian tradition was already starting to spread. Josephus has awareness of it. Tacitus has awareness of it. At best, you could say maybe Tacitus knows that it was understood that a Jewish man named Jesus got crucified, at best. But even that's not strong, for sure, because what source does he have? He doesn't say where he got this information. He just says there was a guy named Christus, got himself killed under Pontius Pilate, this terrible superstition, and it spread from there to Rome. That's it,
And why the name of the Savior must mean Savior. So the source for the Passion story would be like this kind of contest of solar mythology, like in any other god's Passion narrative. There would be the source is the sky, it's not history. It's like they are trying to say that, like, Old Testament stories in a specific period of days, the deity would return and so on with fulfilling prophecies and giving hope.
Right.
It doesn't smell like history at all, right?
Yeah, especially not our understanding. Some people might come and say, well, back then, history isn't straightforward like we imagine it. Or history isn't always written in the style of Thucydides or someone who's trying to write like what really happened exactly. But when you do point out the typology, when you show how literary, it really becomes problematic. And this is a struggle I have as I honestly search to find, what did happen in history behind the Gospels. Is there anything? And, some things sound convincing, but if I'm being honest, I can't prove any of it. I can't. All I can do is give you a case, and I think that's how history is. It's probabilistic. I can give you a case of what I think might have been the case, what's more likely, what's not. But you can bring in counter evidence, and then I go, well, maybe. Like, what makes better sense? So I like to listen to experts because they tend to have a better chance, I think, on trying to wrap their minds around this material. But I like to listen to different experts too. Jonathan, I've got other callers, my friend, I have to take. I really appreciate your patience. Hey, I love Brazil, my friend. Love Brazil. Thank you.
Peace.
Hey, goodbye.
Bye. That was fun. Anything from you, James? And I got a super chat I have to get because I left Bakken hanging last time, and I apologize.
Oh, we're good for the moment. Go ahead and get to that.
Okay. Bakken, you rock. Again, thank you for everything. The worshippers of a Serapis called Bishops of Christ. There is a later forgery, and I say forgery from what I understand, it may not be the correct term, but there is a later text that tries to indicate overlap with Serapis and Christ being Jesus. And this may have been something that started to be observed in Alexandria because obviously Serapis was prevalent and Jesus was prevalent in this region. And syncretism may have started to happen, obviously, in Alexandria, Egypt. But I think there's a quote, and I cannot think of it off the top of my head. I'd have to have the source and pull it up, that scholars do think is kind of late and made up. But you still have to ask, even if it was made up, like, why are they saying this? It's not like it came out of nowhere. Like, somebody's thinking something, even if it is a forgery later that's trying to identify the two, somebody's connecting these dots, even if it is later in Alexandria, Egypt. Worth considering. Thank you, Bakken. Really appreciate the super chat. Next caller, Dark Light Delirium. Welcome, my friend.
Hey, Dan.
I am the brightest night. I am the darkest light, and I am ascending, as are we all. The dark light is upon you. What up, you beautiful motherfuckers?
Welcome. You've been around for a good minute. How are you?
Good, man. First off, before I get into my delirium, I would like to acknowledge the new atheist atmosphere that is being cultivated kind of behind the scenes a little bit, that is being set apart from, like the atheist experience and the line. Those are atheist communities and atmospheres that it seems like they are more worried about clip farming gotcha moments on theists instead of having actual, honest conversations. And there's other channels that are behind the scenes, and I think you're a part of that. Channels like Brooklyn Lou the Skeptic, Captive Desk, Brojo's Cafe, Objective Ethics. There's a bunch of kind of smaller channels behind the scenes that are inviting theists on to have real honest conversations about stuff without trying to just, you're going to have a gotcha moment as an atheist. It's going to come. There's no point in putting that above having a honest conversation, Right. So I just wanted to give a shout out to all my atheist homies, because I hang out with atheists a lot.
Yeah, well, Dark, I appreciate the compliment. I'm taking it as a compliment.
Yeah.
And I talk to everybody. I'm a people person. At the end of the day, my whole family believes in God. They're all Christians. And, specifically they're Christians mostly. I mean, not all of them live like Christians, but you know what I mean? Like, but at the end of the day, we're human. And, look, I don't want to knock any program. I mean, I personally do think it does disconnect, the human. Sometimes it can disconnect the humanity when we have only gotchas. You gotta have fun. People like those gotchas, but I also know that we're human and we're just trying to make sense of the world. And some of us are theists, some of us are atheists, some of us are deists, some of us are agnostics. Some of us don't even want to label. We don't know what we are. Today we're one thing, tomorrow we're another. And that's how messy humans are. And that's okay with me, as long as you're not harming people.
Yeah. It's all a perceptual journey. And hitting on that note, the harming people part, the biggest problem I have with followers of Abraham is that they command, demand, and justify harming your fellow man. And it's ultimately a very small percentage of their scriptures which does this. And I would like to ask any followers of Abraham, will you disavow these small amount of scriptures which command, demand, and justify harming your fellow man? And that's my main thing with followers of Abraham.
You know, I actually, and I'm thankful you finally popped on here, and I'm sorry for the last times you've tried to make the attempts of getting on, and this has been a perfect episode for this kind of situation.
Yeah.
I would like to ask you, because I know you're coming from a theistic perspective, and but we share a common outlook on harmful ideologies attached to revelatory text that they have to keep and they have to justify or find a way to, and I'm not saying they as in all. I know a lot of theists, a lot of Christians, a lot of progressive scholars and stuff that come on that believe, who say, I condemn that. I think that's wrong. I don't accept that. They still find reasons to still hold on to faith or whatever they have as their belief system at the end of the day, and they condemn those things. But there are a lot of them that don't. And I think apologetics has a lot of problems when it comes to that, because they have to try to not only make this somehow believable for the world as if it's factual, the evidence supports their claims and you got to believe it or else hell and all those things come in, but also justifying some of the really, really tough stuff you're talking about, slavery, genocide, all these things that come up in scripture. So I want to I'm glad you got that off your chest, but I just want to allow you the opportunity to bring up where you stand as a theist. And why do you personally stand there? This is not combative. This is not to gotcha. This is just me as a skeptic. I'm sure James is a skeptic like me. You know, why do you hold to that idea? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I'll just go through it kind of quick because I know we're on a time limit here, but I was raised up as neo-pagan. It wasn't like the old school pagan. It was kind of like a Wiccan pagan. My mom liked to study everything. And from about 15 to 35, I just claimed spiritual. But then I started really thinking about it, and spiritual is just kind of like a catch-all term for people that don't really subscribe to any one religion. I started really thinking about it, and I do believe in a construct of the one true creator, but my perception of that construct is very different from followers of Abraham. I do not come to it through the dogmas and scriptures of the Abrahamic religions. So I have a very different perception of what the one true creator is. And to me, what makes the followers of Abraham or the theology of Abraham broken, because I call it a broken theology, is that they incessantly attempt to interject division into that which is united. And they interject this division with constructs such as sin, such as Satan, such as hell, such as the saved versus the damned, such as God's people versus all people. And So I do
hold on 1 second, Dark. My wife is asking me what I want for dinner, and I'm so sorry. Hold on 1 second, brother. You're by the way, you're preaching to the choir. I love this. What, honey?
So yeah, I agree with you on all those points.
Yeah, how you doing, James? First time we've got to talk.
Go back and forth. I'm gonna mute. I'm sorry, guys. Let me mute.
Yeah, we'll be here. No, I mean, we know each other, so I'm very familiar with you.
We've been talking to chat for what, a year and a half at least, you know, and some of the channels I mentioned.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm familiar with all those channels. Dave, Captive Dusk, is a really stand-up guy. He's going through cancer right now.
Is he still? I thought he beat it.
If he beat it, I didn't hear that. I know he hasn't been feeling well lately, so I just don't know.
Okay. Yeah. I love atheists, man. Atheists and pagans, those are my homies. Those are the people I like to hang out with. And it's funny because I consider myself a true monotheist. But once again, I have a very different perception about what that is, and I don't come to it through the scriptures and dogmas of Abraham.
Right, sure. And I have met, to be fair, I've met some Christians along the way that think similarly to the way that you do, right? That are more inclusive instead of exclusive, and that are more about harmony than division. So it just depends on what it means to them and how they walk with it. But I agree with you that most of the experience I've had were people that are very polemic in their religiosity.
If I may add to that, Dark, too, James, I didn't get to catch all that because my wife was asking about dinner, but I know many Christian scholars that I've interviewed who do call out these bad things, and they recognize the warts, the scars, the problems with their own tradition, and for those I respect. Like I do. I'm like, you know what? It's like me being proud of being a Lambert. I bet you if you go back into that's my last name I have on my arm. And people go, why do you have your last name on your arm? Well, I have my family around it too, and it's symbolic to me. It has a lot of meaning that, this is deeper. But like I guarantee you, I have some really bad scars in the history of my last name of men who've had my name and passed this name along. I'm not going to discard my tradition, but because there's been some horrific people who've carried this name, I'm carrying the name with nobility. I'm carrying the name with ethics and positive. I'm redefining, yeah. And I think that's what every religion should do. And I think that there are lots of people doing that. And honestly, MythVision's goal is education. And in a sense, you could call it harm reduction, because I'm not interested in making everyone materialistic. Everyone must be an atheist. Everyone must be like me and think exactly like me on philosophy or ontology or even about Jesus. I've never, in fact, that's why I've laid out a whole buffet of scholars to allow you, the viewer, to pick and eat whatever from the buffet you think makes sense to you. It's never been a tell you what to think. It's a tell you how to think and let you be the thinker. That's been my philosophy. And I think that's a bit different from what can happen in particular groups of atheists online who might identify like me as an atheist, but there is a collective kind of group think about that. And I think if you really meet them in person, and I've met several of them, and it's not through a phone call that's looking for a gotcha and just a haha, I'm superior, I know better. There are a lot of those. Even the caller, the people on the phone, you'd be shocked when you meet them in person. They're not like the show seems to portray them. So, Dark, I would just say, don't give up the potential optimism that you can find from even the people in these call-in shows in real life. If you ever go to a conference or something, you'll see what I mean. These people, they're real people, but there's something about social media, about online, that's supposed to connect us, but actually divides us often more than it helps us unite. And if we could figure out how to use this tool better, I really do think it could be advantageous to humanity and not so divisive. That's my opinion. But
a quick little detour, but the internet itself is a perception manipulation technology. Okay, and that is being intentionally used because the government knows that our perception is the strongest thing in the world. That is why they must intentionally manipulate it in order to support their systems and establishments. Now, that was a quick little detour, but I would like to call on all followers of Abraham who notice that there is fucked up shit in their religion. I would just like to call on you to openly and publicly disavow these handful of scriptures which command, demand, and justify harming your fellow man. Okay, I think that would be very powerful, even if it was a small percentage. Because, like you said, most of my family is Christian. I'm kind of like a black sheep in my family, because I do consider myself a true monotheist, but I'm also developing my own theology, and I'll get into that a little bit for you right quick and answer your original question as to why I believe. So I call it the fractal singularity omnimatrix. Okay, that is my favorite term for God. God itself is my least favorite term for God. Okay, but so, and when I was talking earlier about the followers of Abraham are what makes their perception broken is that they perceive division instead of unity. Okay, and that kind of brings me to my dark light decalogue that I've come up with. So my dark light decalogue, the first 5 are empirically verified. The second 5 are more metaphysical, but they have a direct relation. So it's and these are in order: unity, consciousness, dark, light, paradox. and then freedom, sovereignty, infinity, remembrance, and saturation. And that's the 10, that's the dark light decalogue right there. And those are related to each other. Unity is freedom. Consciousness is sovereignty. Dark is infinity. Light is remembrance. And paradox is saturation. That's part of my own theology I'm working on right now. So the first 5 are empirically verified. There's all kinds of science to back those up. The second 5 are a little bit more metaphysical. Any comments on that?
No, I need to really unpack that. There's a lot there. Feel free to message me. By the way, we have 2 more callers that came in, and it is starting to get cold here, Dark. But send me
Yes,
what
sir.
you have.
Yes, sir.
I'm curious to know what
I have a bunch of I'm writing books. I have a bunch of good literature on this. I'm writing 3 books. One for my poetry. One called The Big Beautiful Book of Defiance of the Broken Theology of Abraham, which is pretty much a book that points out all the flaws about Abrahamic religions. Then my 3rd book is all about my own personal theology. So now one thing I like to admit is that I believe in imaginary friends. Come on, fellow theists. Let's admit it. We believe in imaginary friends, theists. Can we just admit that, please? I hate it when they go around saying, no, I don't believe in imaginary friends. I just have a God that I talk to that I never see. Come on, motherfuckers. Let's admit it.
Look, yeah, thank you so much for coming on, man. Write me what you have. I got 2 more callers, and then I got to wrap things up here. It's starting to get cold already.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I would like to invite any atheist or theist listening to me right now to participate in my podcast, the Theology Council. I try to get people of different perceptions together to talk about important issues within the realms of theology, culture, health, and politics. And it's kind of a quality over quantity type thing. I'm really waiting to have the right lineup before I go live with my next episode. So far, I have Kyle Butler, which is a friend of Durante Lamar. I have Coach Renz from Deconstructing Christianity, and I have a Satanist who is my co-host. So I'm really looking for a good lineup for my next episode. So Dark Light Delirium, and also I'm Dane Darklight on Facebook if anyone wants to hit me up on there and talk about stuff. And I will send you some of my literature, Derek. All right.
Awesome.
Thank you, Dane.
Thank you. Have a good one, brother.
I appreciate it, James. I appreciate it, Derek. You guys stay beautiful. All right.
Thank you. You too. Bye. All right. I don't know what happened in the chat with our friend Neo Mortal Girl. I was just writing her, and I don't know what.
Yeah, something didn't set well with her, but without knowing specifically, I can't address it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to do with that.
There's nothing we can do unless they comment further.
Yeah, I don't understand. I don't get it. Anyway, we got 2 more callers here that I want to try and get. Peter, can you show your camera behind stage just so I know that you're a real person there? Just make sure. And then Tim, you're after him. And then I don't know if I'll be able to make it to you, the real duck. I'd love to make it to you today, but this is getting late and I'm outside and it got real cold last night, my friend. Peter, don't go anywhere yet in case Peter doesn't show his camera, because I have to see a real human there just to screen callers to make sure that they're legit. Oh, yeah. Okay, Peter. Look, if you had a camera, yeah. So in the future, keep that in mind. I will have call-in shows at some point where we won't have to worry about this problem. I just don't want someone to ruin what we're doing because there are lots of trolls. James, did you have something to say you wanted?
I was just going to say that I'm always skeptical when someone claims to be a real duck. I don't know if I believe that until they ask me if I've got any grapes.
Look, Peter, thank you for waiting. I'm sorry you had to wait so long to figure that out. For those who ever call in, please show faces. I need to, and specifically wave, so I know that it's a real human. I don't want to ruin what we have going on here. And there are people who will try to do that. It just is. And I have to be strong about that either way. Mm-hmm. Let me see something here. Yeah. Okay. Let's bring Tim on. Peter, sorry about that. We have to take visuals. Tim, what is up?
Hey, Derek.
Tim. How are you?
Too long. What's up, James? How are you guys doing?
Awesome.
Good, man. Good. How are you?
Okay.
Yes.
Awesome.
Tim, I saw you did a stream just the other day about your story. Was it
Yeah,
yesterday?
I've been doing a long series of live streams about my story, and I've got a few more to go. But just got off a live stream on a different topic, but I saw yours pop up right away on my phone. I was like, I'm going to join real quick before it's too late. I just wanted to say real quick, I know you got to run for dinner and because it's cold, but I see you've been recently doing a lot of deconversion stories. I just want to applaud you. That's obviously deep on my heart. That's amazing stuff. I love it. I've listened to some of them, not all of them. I'm trying to catch up, but I appreciate what you're doing, and just, you know, keep it going. You're doing the Lord's work.
Hey, shameless plug for you, Tim. You're doing it too. Let's pull up your YouTube channel. Make sure. Well, can you pull it up and share your screen by any chance, Tim? Just so that everybody can, because this laptop's a pain in the butt. I'm working on a laptop outside. I don't know if you saw the Facebook post, but like I'm out here in front of my mother-in-law's pool in the backyard, trying not to harass them with these topics. But yeah, Tim, what did you have? Oh, you're muted.
So do I have access to share my screen? Yeah. Okay.
You should. Yeah.
1 second.
You should. Almost there. Average Joseph. My deconstruction story is the best.
Does that come through at all?
Yes, it came through.
Okay, 1 second.
Let's put it in the chat just so everybody knows. Go subscribe. Harmonic Atheist. Tim is doing all sorts of great work, and I feel like it's like therapy. Like watching you is like therapy. You're calm, you're gentle with your guests. They get to just be themselves. I really, really do hope more people go subscribe.
Thank you. And this is what we were just talking about. It's just called "This Is My Story." I didn't come up with anything too crazy for the title, but this is my story. Just going through different parts of it, and it's been what I've been doing. What I think is amazing is to really go through real slowly, because when I interview people, I'm asking them to essentially condense it in like an hour and a half to 2 hours.
Right.
And you realize most people admit, like when we're done, like we really could have gone a lot further. There's a lot more to share here. And I've always felt that for myself. And I'm working on a project behind the scenes to interview myself, where I'm going to literally create a script as the interviewer and create a script for the interviewee. And I'm going to interview myself and put them together, which will be quite fun. But that's technically challenging. I'm going to get to it at some point. But in the meantime, I'm just like coming on and saying, hey, let's talk about this one topic, and let's talk about all kinds of aspects of it.
Yeah.
Everything from your birth order to how your parents treated you, to what Sunday school was like, just the whole 9 yards. And you end up finding that there's a lot of stuff to heal from. And we tend to focus on like, you need to heal from original sin, from the worm theology. But a lot of times you need to heal from the fact that there's like a million other little things that were wrapped up in Christianity for you. It's not all of them negative, some of them very beautiful, but it's been great for me. I've been for years writing down every little thing I can remember that had anything to do with Christianity in my earlier life, in my childhood up. And you end up with, if you do that for years, you end up with a lot of stuff to share.
Yeah.
And eventually it's like, it's time to share it. But I do hope that it encourages people to think through their story better, and think, we need to pull those layers of the onion back, because there's a lot there. And just, I've been making the point, I'll wrap up with this and let you get to your dinner, but I've been just saying, when we deconstruct, we also often think it's about the information. If I can just get enough information, if I can think through the mythology, I can think through the psychopathic nature of Yahweh, I can think through the bizarre contradictions of the Bible and the philosophy, would God let a 2-year-old get leukemia? You just add it all up and it doesn't make sense. And you think, I realize it's mythology. I'm done. This is great. This is the big event. I escaped Christianity. It's like, no, you did not. This was the beginning of this is the opening. It's like the iceberg. You're at the tip, and there's a big iceberg underneath the water. And we sometimes hear Christians say, I deconstructed my faith and then I reconstructed it because I want to kind of keep Jesus but leave hellfire or something. It's like the deconstruction and reconstruction that's the main event is not deconstructing and reconstructing Christianity. It's deconstructing and reconstructing yourself.
Right.
And it's just such a beautiful journey. But I just appreciate your bringing people on to share their stories. I can't applaud you strongly enough. You are the man, the myth, the legend. So thanks for being you.
Well, thank you. You are the man, the myth, the legend. And again, appreciate what you're doing. James, you were going to say something though.
Oh, I was just going to agree, but keep going.
Yeah, I would just say this. It's not just religion, there's a lot humans are going through. And I would encourage people who just heard what Tim said to, if you can, some of us can't, share your story. Contact him. contact me, email. Both of us can share your story independently, by the way. We don't have every member is the same on each channel. And, you know, there is something powerful about real people telling real stories and just raw letting them know, like, this is what it is and what you can say. Some things you can't say, we get that, but like there's something about connecting to the human on the other side, and I think that's what works so well in helping people realize, like, okay, these are real people. I really do appreciate you coming on and sharing that, and that's one of the reasons I do it. Is it also is therapy for the person who's sharing it. There's a burden that's lifted often. They're like, wow, I feel so different finally just saying this. I couldn't say it. Now I can say it, you know? Anyway, that's all I have to say.
Yeah. And if I could just add one more last thing, sometimes as you start down this path, you end up finding yourself really learning that there's more in your heart that you ever knew was there to share. And I've said this, I was saying this before on a live stream recently, and I think it's important to say it. And if you don't mind my making a little plug for this concept.
Yeah.
A lot of us in the deconstruction community are focused on a lot of information, and that's critical. And that's, you know, that's one of the biggest, you know, you're one of the biggest linchpins for that, for us in this community, that information is for some people the only thing that will get them out. And I love it. And that's why I love your channel so much, and love you so much. But I also just want to encourage people, when you deconvert and you get to the point where you're thinking back on your life and where you are now, where you're going to be for the future, I would encourage people to ask this question. What's in your heart on an emotional, psychological level that you need to express? And I would just say, not as much where just the academics. We need the academics, but where are the poets? We need more poets. And I'm not saying we need to create poets. I'm saying you all are bloody poets already. Let it out. There's emotion in your heart. And sometimes stream of consciousness, let that free verse flow. And you find yourself saying stuff that you're like, holy shit, I didn't know that was in my heart. But all of a sudden you're like, wow, this is some deep stuff, and there's some tears, and you start letting that flow, and you realize this journey, it's a journey of emotion and psychology. You're learning you were stuck, that something was done to you. You were stuck in something. You were in a machine. You were in Plato's cave. You got out, and now the real journey begins. And it's a lot of loss for a lot of people. Like, holy smokes, I lost a lot of time, and it still hurts. You know, I both probably still get emails from people saying, I know it's not real, but I still fear hell. And I know hell's mythology, but I still am afraid. How do I get over it?
Yeah, I have a stream tomorrow on that with
Nice.
Brittany Hartley. So yeah,
Nice.
I do. Everybody go Harmonic Atheist. Go subscribe to Tim. I got one more guy, one more caller to take, Tim.
Thanks,
Final
Derek.
words from you, man.
Have a great night. Love you so much.
Love you. Thank you. All right. I am out here in the country in North Carolina. This is like in the woods. I am hearing pop, 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 pop. Gunshots going off. Probably someone just shooting a target in the back somewhere here. I wanted to mute it.
I think it's your wife. Your wife. She's mad at you that you're not at dinner.
Get here
table
for
yet.
dinner. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dinner's here. All right. Let's take the duck next. And I want to make sure I didn't leave anybody hanging here. Appreciate all the love and support in the chat. Okay. The real duck is in the house. What's up? Welcome back. Oh, you're muted. Uh-oh.
There we go.
There he is. Okay, what's up, Duck?
Nothing. I was gonna bring up the topic of just how, like, it's easy, it's convenient in like YouTube and like digital creator spaces to say that atheism is exploitative. But I think like flipping the script a little bit, it's, when we say that we're willing to exploit ourselves, or we're willing to fetishize ourselves because of like some religious promise, that's just kind of it's just what was on my mind, to be honest. And I feel like there's a lot more there.
So I'm not sure I'm tracking what you're getting at, honestly.
Yeah, like, okay, so our last conversation, I said some crazy stuff, right? And it's like, so if you or James were like, let's just say you guys were offering me a theological narrative, I take that in and say, well, okay, well, the sacrifice I'm willing to make because of this is like I'm now willing to, I would say, like I'm willing to get rid of like my scholastic interests or get rid of my spirituality, living in nature or living in natural things or something like that, right? So I make all types of adjustments as a result of and some of those are significant, not all of them, but some of those are like, you know, for people, you know, it's like brain decay over a decade. It's brain decay over the course of a Sunday service. It's all these things where it's like, well, suddenly I'm here when I was supposed to be here doing this.
Okay, James, help me decipher what the duck is trying to get at here. What do you...
So I have a question. Can you give us a single example of something specific you said in the last stream that when you looked back at it, you felt like you needed to better explain it because it sounded crazy?
Yeah, that's another great question. That's one of the questions I personally love to answer. So I would say, like, you know, making an abductive case that the stories in the gospel, due to their reproduction, their reproducibility in other gospel books, like, were believable, right? Right. Like, this is one way to view this collection of stories, but then you can also just reference Tolkien. You can reference, you can look at the difference between Jane Goodall and the books, or you can look at the difference of something else. Yeah. And so, you know, when I reference something like, well, okay, well, what this statement means or this phrase means is that we are, you know, crazy stuff to me is that, like, yeah, we're taking a less preferable set of variables with dimensions to analyze. And that moves us further away.
I feel like we're, so like you say something really I get, and then there's a lot more information that comes after that I'm like, I feel like it loses me just saying, like, after you get to a certain point. So yeah. You brought up Tolkien, and do you guys hear that? Do you hear that in the background, by the way?
Yeah.
Okay, they're like literally someone's pop right now as we speak.
Yeah.
So what I was going to say is it made me think of like the playwriters that were writing the various stories about Dionysus or Orestes or different Greco-Roman heroes that they repeated and recycled stories about. You might go to the Caesars and see biographies written about them, things like that. I don't know if believability, you attached believability to it. I don't think it necessarily needs to be implied in terms of believability. That could be the case. I don't necessarily go that route because I am persuaded that Robyn Faith Walsh and other scholars in her ilk point out that the literary authors of the Gospels were competitive elites. They were writing artistic literature, and they were competing. And this is why you have Matthew come along, repeat, but also change and try to make better versions of his text about the story of Jesus versus someone like Mark. Because if it was all about believability, and when I say believability, I mean this happened, then why would Matthew change the details so often? So he had such liberty to often change material to make it say not what Mark said. So to me, that just seems more like a defeater on, like, Matthew's not, I don't think Matthew's concerned with what actually literally happened. I think his competition is more artistic. I think he's saying, I'm going to make a better actual story than what you have. And there might be some social dynamics, theological dynamics that he doesn't agree with that Mark has. And so he's painting a different story. When you use believability, I interpreted that in my mind as historical on the ground facts. Like this happened.
So I can push back a little bit, and just because I saw TBS in the audience, I can say it like this. So, like, let's just imagine hypothetically, you know, we're next to Mark, we're next to Matthew, and we see this service-oriented Jesus versus we see Jesus and Matthew, whatever. He's maybe a little more kingly or something. I don't know. But if you say that, well, both of these could be revealed religion, and you obviously, the writer would have had to have been, you know, very close, right next to that, like, this is just for TBS too, just next to that, next to this Jesus that's doing these great social miracles all the time. And so when we go to the book of Matthew, we can say that, well, if people weren't ready to accept that, there's still a version of that that is a revealed religion, that, like maybe a more mature reading of that or something is like, okay, so not that you should like, I don't know, like, I'm just saying that there's still a intelligible, if not believable. So maybe you're pushing me back, but
well, I would just say go read some of the great plays, and I know that they're written more in a poetic style because the Gospels are in prose, which is also interesting to think.
Yeah.
And scholars have long debated these issues, and there's a case to be made that they do want their text to be believable. M. David Litwa, who wrote a book called How the Gospels Became History, just one model that he presents is that they wrote myths, but they wanted the reader to think that, this happened or something, but they're myths. So they didn't really happen, is his take. Richard C. Miller takes a different view and says, no, over the coming century to century and a half of debate, squabble, dialogue and debate with Jews, other Christians, etc., they started to become more hypersensitive to making historiological. But in the early Christian era, he says that they weren't doing that. They weren't concerned with that. And then you have other scholars who go, no, they're trying to do historiological at the outset. So they're mixing historiological in with mythology and legend. And so, look, it's an ongoing debate. I love the fact that the scholars are not stopping the thinking and continuing the engagement.
That is outside, but this is a little bit out. Like, that sort of like helps, because you're showing what maybe like the fence line. You're showing like what a fence line actually looks like when you have when you have this debate about how religious do I get, how spiritual do I be. You get this sort of idea that, okay, well, if it's historicity or historiological or what, your stuff, I'm still forming a belief about that as not being an expert, right? I'm not throwing that stuff around as much. I'm maybe working on it, writing about it a little bit, doing some online research, but I don't do that stuff personally, and that's the thing that I think people sell out for.
Well, I sell out for what?
They sell out because you can hear about eschatology, or you can hear even an academic approach to theology or something, and suddenly it's like, oh, well, I'm becoming religious or something because of this, right? I'm not next to it. I don't understand it, but I'm religious because of it still.
Help me out, James.
You can be inspired by something that you don't feel like you have a comprehensive grasp of. And if that's your point, I agree with that 100%.
Oh, super chat by Bakken. Thank you so much for the super chat. Mark, Secret Christ Revealed. Matthew, Jewish Jesus. In fact, this is a common scholarly position, actually, is I think Dennis MacDonald, I spoke to him for the first time in a week or two today. It's good to hear from him. He believes that Mark is writing a myth of origins for the Christian movement, and that Matthew is trying to write an actual biography. So he does think that Matthew's attempting historiography. It's very interesting to notice the different kind of Jesuses, if you will, that seem to appear between both Mark and Matthew. And then we have that Bays. Thank you so much for that super chat. Derek, me again, just popping by to try to put Gunnar Heinsohn's work on your radar. Much love. Please do me a favor. Can you email me so that I have that material? Because I literally will forget. We're about to be driving back home to Florida in 2 days from my mother-in-law's, and I'm on a laptop trying to do these streams. Please, thank you for reminding me and super chatting. It helps us so much here. We really appreciate it. Do me a favor, if you can, email me, please. I'm putting my email in the chat. I would love to look at these scholars. I love scholarship. I love learning from experts and hearing the engagement back and forth between them. Hey, John, I see you in the back. I will not be able to take another caller. I'm out here in this cold weather in North Carolina, and I'm gonna have to do this again and have more callers come back.
How much to jump in the pool, Derek? How much does chat have to pay for you to hop in the pool right now?
Oh my
Did you do that
gosh.
kind of stuff, dude?
Dude, you know how cold that is?
40.
Dude,
40,
I would probably, I shit you not, like if someone actually super chatted me, like, I'd dude, that's I could possibly get sick from this, but like I would say at least 100, maybe 2. I would jump in.
Red Supers, let's go.
I would have to take off the hoodie and jump in, but dude, that I'd have to get off the stream. Like I'd have to be like, all right, ending stream, guys. Like as soon as I'm like in, I'd have to be like ending stream. Got to go in the shower and try to make sure I don't get sick. You know what I'm saying?
That's like Twitch history, though. That would be like Twitch history, right?
Like
stream legend, jumping into a cold pool.
Yeah, like literally. I've never done anything like that on the stream, but you got me looking at that water like, ooh. Jumping into Tiamat doesn't sound too fun. Duck, I don't want to leave you hanging. But is there anything else you wanted to get off your chest? I want to do more of these in the future. And I hope, by the way, we should do this. I think this is wrong of me to not remember to plug Taco because Taco, you go on Taco stream all the time, and he helped inspire me. Yeah, but either way, like he's a buddy. He helped me. He encouraged me to want to stream more, and I hope people will go and check out Mega Bloodbath Debates. Go check out Taco, especially if you're a night owl, someone who stays up. He is doing it all night, and there's always.
If you're an insomniac, if you're an insomniac, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Mega Bloodbath Debates.
Absolutely, go check out Taco. I was going through kind of a rough little patch, and he's like, "Nope, get your ass on the streams, do live streams, hang out, go. You got it, bro." And it was just like the pep in my step just started to go. All right, I'm doing it, and I've been keeping up.
You got an amazing space. This is like one of the best scholastic spaces, I think. It's very easy to watch. A lot of other spaces, lots of like. I don't mean to talk bad about streamers or anything, but there's a lot of like D-bags and stuff on YouTube. No offense,
of course.
Anyway, but
yeah, no. I appreciate the plug on that, and yeah, again, final words from you, Doug, because everyone in the chat behind. I'm not going to be able to take the next caller. My wife not only has dinner ready for us, but also I'm getting cold here in North Carolina, and I'm like wrapped in a blanket outside. Mm-hmm. Duck, anything?
Yeah, I would just say let's all be compassionate the rest of the day, right? Society's got these weird fetishizations of beliefs, of stuff, of everything except just loving your fellow neighbor, even if you don't like that phrasing. Of being a compassionate person. And I appreciate the chance to come up and say hi to everyone. And that's it. Yeah, that's all my last word.
Those are great last words. James?
Mm-hmm. I'll just close this out by saying that no two people have ever read the same book, right? So whatever it means to you when you read a body of work is the same what it means to you when you see a work of art. And likewise, no two people have ever known the same person. So who I know Derek to be and my experience of Derek is going to be different than Derek's experience of Derek or his wife's experience of Derek, right? And so with this being the case, it's important to meet people where they're at and to not make assumptions about what they mean when they associate with or identify with the body of work or another person in the world. So
absolutely. Yeah, no, thank you. I appreciate you joining me, by the way, and being a mod and helping manage stuff. We want to, have a good space for people to have discussions, debates, have all of that, but also not try to shove their religion down people's throats either.
Right.
I really do appreciate you. I'm going to get inside here. It's been a blast tonight, everybody. John, and everyone who was in the queue. Sorry, you guys came at the last second. I'd love to do this again in the future and have you back. I do like this format better, James. It may not get the virality that 8 people yelling at each other at the same time might get, but it's so much more peaceful being able to actually have dialogue with an individual. Many people might jump on the panel and be a little more skittish to speak up when there's so many people talking. Okay, You're good. I'm about to wrap things up. It gives them a little bit more comfort knowing they're not going to be like, someone might be a little bit more, so listen, and no one else feels like talking,
Right.
So
absolutely. I think it's wonderful.
Yeah. Thank you, James, for your friendship, for being a mod again, and all of what you're doing in the chat. It's just very helpful. you know,
Yeah,
managing.
I only had to ban one guy tonight, so good night.
You try to give them warnings. Just say, look, just stop trying to preach. You
Mhm.
know, have a conversation. Don't preach. You know, we don't want to hear. You need to believe, or you're gonna die. You're gonna, you know, come on. You
Right.
know.
I always give a warning, and if they keep on, then they don't leave me a choice.
And I would encourage the same thing for any other Christian channel that has a stream going on. If you're like running in there and all you're doing is just trying to, and it's like they don't want to hear, like, just respect the rules of the channel and don't communicate those, you know, that way. And, you know, I'd respect all that. So
Absolutely.
anyway.
Have a great meal and a great night, Derek. Thank you so much.
I'm staying warm.
Yeah.
I'm off of here. Love y'all. Thank you so much for the super chats, the likes, the shares, the comments. Join the Patreon, help support us, what we're doing. I've got a lot of work that I'm wanting to do when I get home, some documentaries. I have a follow-up video I'm going to do on Wes Huff. I didn't even realize he did a whole nother podcast on Sean Ryan's channel, and I watched just pieces and went, oh my gosh, I don't even want to waste any more time watching any more of it. I'm just going to have to dissect some of this stuff. I could go back through the Diary of a CEO and dissect that again too, because there's a lot more I didn't talk about that's in that.
Yeah.
So I'm probably going to pick this apart, because when I looked on online, the literally number one apologist online is Wes Huff. No one else is making noise like he is right now. So, you know.
Yeah, it is what it is.
It is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys. Everybody, love you. Never forget, we are MythVision. Peace.
Peace.
Son, do you want to know what the truth is? After this, there's no turning back. You take the blue pill and you wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to. You take the red pill and you stay in Wonderland, and I show you just how deep the rabbit hole goes. Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.